think when we think about the whole Deion Sanders effect, I think that that's also a part of this fatherhood effect, right? This idea that relationships are extremely key. And I'm not always good with maintaining relationships or even sustaining them, to be quite honest and frank. But I also understand that the power that they have. And so I think when we're talking about just fathers and talking about establishing this trusted bond with children, I think that it's, the idea that these children can trust somebody.
What up,
Shon?
what up? We are back again for another week of the Father's Heart podcast. What up, Cole?
We back, man. What's up, man? Listen, I'm over here it's looking dark over here for me, man. I'm trying.
Hey, no, but
Get my
listen,
lights right.
but you look good over there, man. Listen, let me see what happened. Turn off the lights.
Guy, is that what we do?
Yes, sir.
Is that what you want tonight?
Yo.
Is that what you want, bro?
Hey, you said it's dark, so I just had to, hit the light. You know what I mean? I had to hit the light.
Man, listen, man, how is everything going, man?
Really good, man. You see what I got on? I still got on my Giants hoodie, and I still have my Giants mug. It's football season. Listen, we look like the Bad News Bears last week. We got the brakes beat off of us on Sunday, 40-0. My wife let me have it. I get it, but you know what?
40-0.
40-0, right?
I just want to repeat that.
No, I don't need you to repeat that. But my thing is, bro, why is this on this side? It should be on the right side. Like I don't drink out of my left hand. Like that don't make no sense.
I wouldn't go correct. Because you said 40. What would you say? 40-0? That's pretty deep.
40-0. I don't need you. Yeah, 40-0.
So is it safe to say y'all the underdogs? Does that sound like something that's starting to surface?
We right now we're trash.
Okay, not even underdogs, just trash.
No, right now we're trash. But I believe in my boys, and I will stick with them. Right. So
okay.
Yeah.
Belief is powerful, brother. Belief
absolutely, absolutely. So Cole, let's tap in, man. Let's tap in. So
what you got? What you got on the table?
Listen, I was gonna say what I have in my cup.
Nah, man, we already know what's in your cup.
I got me some.
I think it's water.
Listen, I went to. I had this meeting, and I never had the Starbucks iced coffee, like in the container, bro. I was that dude though. It was left over, and my wife was looking at me like, "You bet not take that home. You bet not." Every time we had this meeting, I take the cookies. I take whatever's left over. I ain't tripping. But my wife be so embarrassed, bro. She be looking at me.
Yeah.
So I took the iced coffee. And it's good.
Somebody got to do it. Somebody got to do it. So listen, man. What father we want to talk about tonight?
Yo, so what I wanted to talk about, man, honestly, is this whole Deion Sanders effect, right? He is taking the whole football community world by storm, right? Like he is just that deal. I mean, everybody's talking about him, and he's always been my favorite player growing up. But what is so dope about the Deion Sanders effect for me was super cool to see is how he is as a father, bro. Right, like here he is coaching at a very high level, and he is coaching both of his sons on a team, right? And I heard an interview that he had, and the coach was talking about pressure, right? Talk about
Okay.
pressure and all of that type of stuff. And one of the things that he talked about, he was like, "Bro, I was brought up in pressure, and I know how to handle
Mm,
pressure." He was like, "When I was a kid, I used to look up in the stands looking for my father to
okay.
show up. He never showed up. That was pressure." He was like, "My mother really wasn't at the games, not because she didn't want to, but because she had to work so much." So he said, "I just got used to being able to grind and celebrate myself because I didn't have much support." Then he was just talking about his whole career of why he do what he do. And he was like, you talk about pressure. He was like, "Man, I had 2 divorces." And he said that was pressure, right? And I started to think, I was like, man, even in the midst of him going through a divorce, because I really believe that you can be an incredible father and have challenges as a spouse. And because I just started
I
looking at
agree.
myself like, man, even when I was a bad husband, well, I ain't gonna say bad, even when I was challenged with my, husband role, still was a very good father. um, and so that made me think about somebody like Dion, where I'm looking at his kids and how his kids walk around with so much confidence, bro. And
Mm.
it's not just how the Dion effect on the rest of the world, but I can see his influence on his kids on how they walk around with so much confidence and so much swagger. And I believe a lot of it has to do of the impartation of their father. And I just think
So,
about, go ahead, please, man.
well, part of what I was going to ask, right, and Sean, I don't know if is it safe to say you've had experiences where you've had to father other kids outside of your family, and sometimes we call that. Sometimes they like to call it mentorship. I'm not really sure, right? But I think that there's something that happens when fathers who are healthy fathers who understand the role that they play. They understand the dynamics of fatherhood and its importance in the lives of children. That they don't only just father their own children, but they have this sense of responsibility to be supportive and connecting with children, regardless of if they're their biological children, right? And so I remember talking to kids and kids saying things to me like, I know in my neighborhood the kid that has the father. Sometimes we watch them, so and I'm not watching. I had a kid saying I'm not watching because I'm trying to hit a lick because I work with kids that are involved in the detention center or in the juvenile justice system, right? And so people are like, wait, he was watching because he was trying to do something else. And I was like, no. A lot of these kids talk about they could tell who has a father in the neighborhood. They observe the father in the neighborhood. They and they get to see just on daily interactions that the father comes in, the father goes, the father's going to work. I mean, so kids are pretty observant when it comes to sort of seeing men in their communities. And so I wonder from your experience too, when we think about Deion's effect, not only on his players, but the effect that he has in building that sense of confidence and self-esteem in his own children. I think that that's a natural effect that fathers have when they share that fatherhood with people outside of their community. I've seen it. I know that to be true, but I'm just wondering from your experience as a dad, have you had the opportunity to father kids outside of your family and see the influence of that fatherhood just by
Yeah,
them interacting with you?
yeah, and definitely, right? I mean, and it's happened quite a bit. But it's funny that you asked that question tonight, and not that I'm fathering these kids, but I coach my son's football team, right? And these
Mm,
guys are 10, 11, and 12 years old. And so, like tonight,
wow.
before practice, and the team that I have, we're a very good team, right? And no apologies about it. And what I'm trying to instill in these kids is that you don't have to be apologetic about being good. It's a
Mm,
responsibility on how to manage that. And so what I was focusing and what I am focusing on with these young boys is that it's important to learn how to navigate and handle success, because what happens once you start tasting success, you can allow it to go to your head for you to stop paying attention to the details that got you there, right? So
Yeah.
it's easy to fail, it's easy to lose, it's easy to quit, right? Because you don't have to put in any effort. The challenge is winning, right? Because it's a strain, because there's opposition on the other side. Losing, you don't have to have opposition, you can just quit. You don't have to fight, right? So I'm teaching them on purpose how to win, and I told their parents, like, I need you at home to reinforce this, right?
Mm.
On when they are experiencing success, how are you challenging them at the crib for them to um own that? Like, now you might have people watching you, it's a responsibility and you in that role. So again, today, before practice, because we have a bye week, so we wasn't doing a whole lot, but I took the opportunity to spend the first 20 minutes to speak to them, right?
Mm.
About being responsible, about being how to handle success, how to manage social media, those things about that has everything to do with character and building. Because I don't know what type of conversations they're having at home, and I'm quite sure their parents want to have those conversations, but there's nothing like a coach speaking into your life, right? Because
Yeah.
coaches have a lot of influence on young kids, because the kids want to prove themselves to these coaches, right? They want to make sure that coach accept them, and believe in them. Because I had a kid who kept coming to me as like, Coach, how did I do? Am I doing well? Like, he needs constant affirmation, need constant, accolades, and I give it to him, right? But it's funny you say that, man. So absolutely, and I'm doing that now, and I'm seeing it with these kids that I'm coaching, that I'm pouring into them. And so, not saying that I'm fathering them, but I know that my
Right.
position has influence, and I want to make sure that I'm saying the things that their parents are saying, that they're just like, that's just my mom or that's just my dad. I want to reinforce it as their coach.
Yeah. No, I remember when my sons were playing football, and when it hit me, the role that the parent and the coach could have in terms of even supporting my sons on and off the field. And I understood the role that the coach played on the field, but I really didn't understand the power that the coach had off the field. And one of the reasons why I say that is I remember calling the coach specifically because my son just was not doing his chores. He was not doing what he was supposed to do at the crib. But I'm noticing when it comes to the coach, whatever the coach say, the coach he does. I remember one time my son said, "Well, Dad, I'm trying to build my chest up. How do I build my chest up?" I'm like, "Oh man, you just got to stick with doing them push-ups, man. Do them push-ups." He never did the push-up. Then he came home one day and was like, "Dad, guess what? My coach said if I want to build my chest up, I got to do push-ups." And I'm looking like,
You're like,
"Bro,"
I should put you out.
I'm like, "I've been telling," but then I ain't say nothing. And then I understood. I'm like, the coach has much more of an influence than I actually realized. And so it dawned on me that how can I combine my parenting efforts with the coach? And I would tell the coach, I'm like, "Hey, he ain't picking up what he's supposed to be doing at school. He's not doing what he's supposed to do at home. What's your thoughts?" He was like, "Hey, Cole, I can have him run some extra laps. He won't even know that why he running the extra laps. But I can support you in that space, and then maybe we can talk about what it means to follow the rules or pick up your weight in every aspect of your life." And so it really became a partnership, when it came to connecting with the coach. And I think that really shifted my thinking, that the power that the coach has, because there was a time when I felt insecure about having the coach, because it dawned on me as a father, as a man, why are my children
Yep.
listening to this coach? But
Yep.
I'm the one providing all the things. But
Yep.
when I started to see that's a relationship, that they really have, that they trust this person and they value this person, then I had a responsibility to move into that space as well. So it wasn't just about me sitting in the stands, but it was about them also seeing that I also respect their coaches. I'm also not behind the scenes talking about the coach because I didn't like what happened on the football field or the basketball court, but recognizing that we had a true collaborative and a partnership. And I think when we think about the whole Deion Sanders effect, I think that that's also a part of this fatherhood effect, right? This idea that relationships are extremely key. And I'm not always good with maintaining relationships or even sustaining them, to be quite honest and frank. But I also understand that the power that they have. And so
Yep.
I think when we're talking about just fathers and talking about establishing this trust and bond with children, I think that it's, the idea that these children can trust somebody that would allow them to do whatever this coach says. And I think
Real.
a key foundation for fathers is that your children have to be able to trust you and trust what you say and trust that you said when you say it that you're going to follow through with that and they're going to see it play out in real time.
That's real. And the thing about it, man, there's so much stuff that you can unpack, right, from the role of a coach. Because what happens is, man, the coach, one thing about a coach, like why I listen to my coaches is because number one, they was cool, right? They was
Mm,
cool to me. They had influence and they determined if I got playing time or not, right? So you just always trying to prove to them why you should be selected, right? And
mm,
that is the buy-in at first, and then eventually it gives you an opportunity to see who that coach is behind that role, right? And so the same thing is like with my program, where a lot of these guys come into the program is because of the benefits that we provide. But once they come in, they like, oh, these people are authentic. This is what I need. It's beneficial. This is good medicine for me. And so as a child, sometimes it's hard to see that as to see your parents that way. What's up, Father's Heart podcast family? Yeah, we have sponsorships now, and this week's sponsor is none other than InvolvedDad. So listen up, fathers. Are you looking for a deeper understanding to understand fatherhood and make a positive impact in your children and families' lives? Look no further than InvolvedDad, right? Where we create strong fathers through fatherhood engagement, right? It's extremely important for children to have fathers that are not only showing up, but they are showing out, that they are fully invested, they are fully engaged. So this week's sponsor is an agency, man, that knows the ins and out of fatherhood and know how to strengthen families, know how to fill the gaps and connect families to the right resources so they can live their best lives and become more and more successful. So listen, if you need assistance, if you know someone who needs help on fathering, on parenting, co-parenting, or a father that is just struggling, right? That he does not know how and what to do about his next move, because this game that we call, this life that we live, sometimes, man, it's like a game of chess, right? Like knowing your next move. And at Involved Dad, what we do, we help fathers make their next best move. So reach out to us, right? The number is 313-757-1388, and you can find us on the web as well, and that is InvolvedDad.org. No S, because a lot of people put Involved Dads, although we want Involved Dads, but it's InvolvedDad.org. So yes, listen, don't be average, you might as well be elite in your parenting and in fatherhood, right?
yeah,
Because you see
that's
your parents' flaws, you
yeah.
see, how they talk, to you, if they talking to you reckless or whatever the case, you mean, and like that parent is not going to, um, do certain things, right? But whereas a coach, they can take you or leave you, right? Because it's like, yo, I don't have to use you. Well, your parents, you like, man, my parents ain't gonna put me out, right?
Right.
Like, yeah, they
Right.
gonna get upset. But as a coach, man, that coach has a lot of influence at first, and then it's like, oh, I can really see who that coach is. And I think
Yeah.
it's very important for us to find ways to get our children to see who we really are. One of the things
Yeah.
I did just past week, man, we taught the Deion effect. I can call this the Shon effect. I was very intentional. Like, my daughter is seeing this young man right now, and it's kind of complicated, right? Um, and so she's been talking to my wife about it, and I have my stance, right? I have my stance. I have the way that I think that she should navigate. And so I was like, you know what? Let me just fall back. Let me just let them do this thing. And so what I told my daughter, I said, you know what? Saturday morning, you and I gonna go to breakfast. Just you and I. Not your sister, not your brother, not your mom, just us. And bro, we had breakfast. And the crazy thing, Cole, my daughter's 15. When we was done, both of us was like, wow, I never knew that about you.
Yeah.
We in the house the same, every day with one another. But
Yeah.
because we had that quality time, I was able to better understand how she's wired and why she do what she do. Because she felt comfortable enough to let me know like what some of her things was, like why she do stuff and what is her thinking. I'm like, oh my God, I never knew that. And then she had the opportunity to hear stuff about my past and why I do what I do. And it just gave us a better bond and I really think that has an effect, right, on our relationship and building her confidence to be able to trust me, to see like, man, my dad didn't come out of his mother's womb a grown man.
Yeah.
He grew into who he is, right? He wasn't this same person. I'm like, yo, if your mom would have met me just 1 year sooner, we wouldn't be here.
Well, Shon, what you're also talking about is a very hard sell for me to sell to parents that I work with. When I talk about the importance of establishing relationships, but the relationship has to be one on one. That the same kind of characteristics you need in a romantic relationship in terms of how you show up in that space is very similar to the ingredients you need to practice when establishing a relationship and maintaining a relationship with your teenager, especially if your teenager is strong willed, especially if your teenager pushes back and pushes your buttons. Like I often tell parents when I'm working with them, the kiddo that has the most challenges, that's the kiddo you need to move into, not away from them because of their behavior, right? And I talk about establishing relationships and maintaining one-on-ones. And the toughest people I have that struggle with that are men, especially men with sons. And I'm like, well, you got to meet him where he's at, Dad. You know what you might need to do? Today you might need to go into his room after work, and you might just need to just sit down there where he's at. If he's on his room most of the time, Dad, today you go in the room and you just chilling there. Maybe you don't say nothing, maybe you say something, but you're just there, right? And I had some dads like, man, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. He gonna come to me, and I'm like, okay, well, what kind of relationship do you want to have?
Yep.
And so it's really hard to convince dads to even move into a space of vulnerable. What is vulnerable? You have to be.
I think it's vulnerable, but I think too, to add to that, bro, I think it has to do with their own insecurities and pride and being proud, like just pride, bro. Like I am not going to. They look at it as like they're sucking up to the
Yeah,
kids and they cowering down.
yeah, yeah. I get that a lot in my work around just even trying to convince folks to go to where the kiddo is at. Have an experience with them. Don't walk into the space willing to take over and tell the kid what to do, but walk into the space as a partner where you're trying to learn and understand. And I think that's just a shift. I find that it's a shift in thinking, especially for parents that have an old school
Oh,
philosophy
bro.
about the role that children play and the role that adults play in the lives of family. And so I think that even you taking that opportunity, instead of saying, okay, let me throw in all my input and let me shift this, I'm going to do some one-on-one time with my daughter, and I'm going to share with her who I am, and she'll get to learn a little bit more about me, and again, strengthen that bond and that relationship. And that often gets me to a place that I know that you and I do this work. I've not always been perfect. I'm still navigating fatherhood, raising kids that, well, I'm not even raising kids anymore. I'm consulting with my sons that are now young adults. But I'm curious to ask you, how did you arrive to that? Because you and I talk a great deal about, we support people, we tell them what to do, right? But how did you arrive to that thought process where it was a shift from like, okay, you know what, I need to do some one-on-one time? How did you make that shift?
Actually one of my program officers, who we receive funding from now, he's no longer with them, but he told me that his dad, when he was younger, his dad used to come to his school and have lunch with him, and then on another day have lunch with his sister at their school. And he said what
Mm,
he wound up doing was doing the same thing with his kids. And he was telling me how that really impacted him, how what that felt like. And I was like, you know what? We are always busy. We are always running. Levi has soccer and football, and Shelby has soccer, and then she was playing basketball at one point. Sydney's in school, just everybody, Leah and I, we have our own stuff. We take time for ourselves. Like, my wife and I, we are very intentional. Like earlier today, we woke up and we went to breakfast, just her and I, just to spend time. Hey, let's. And so I'm like, yo, if we can take that time, if we think is important for us to keep our marriage strong, to have quality time, my children are only going to be children once. And
that's
so
true.
I'm like, you know what? I need to invest everything in them to give them an opportunity. And so that's where that came from. So listening to him, looking at how my wife and I relationship, and I look at how our relationship has gotten better because we are intentional about our time spent with one another. I'm like, my children deserve that, especially
Yeah,
from the middle child, right? You talk about, we always talk about that middle child thing. And I really believe it is true, right? Because the middle child sometimes is overlooked, bro, is because the first, had all of the attention, then the youngest, right? You put your energy there. Now you got a new younger one. So now you put all your energy in this young one because they need the most attention. And then now the older one, they are experiencing new adult type stuff. So they need that attention, and they may be feeling some type of way because now you have all these. And so the person in the middle, they just quiet, like, yo, I don't want to ruffle no feathers. I'm going to just stay out the way. And so they
yeah,
suffer in silence. And so I saw that starting to happen with my middle daughter, where she would just go to her room. She'd just go to her room, come home, go to her room, chill, the whole nine. And my wife and I both, like at the same time, we identified that, said, nope, not in our crib. And so we had to go and extract her out. She still loves isolation at times, but bro, it's 1,000 times different where now she is out with us. She's laughing. She's like the silliest one in the crib. But if we didn't catch that, bro, we could have allowed her to suffer in silence and have all types of insecurities. And so she needs a lot more attention than the others because they get it, right?
yeah,
But the middle child is like, yo, I don't have no trouble. I'm not doing this. And they could be the sneakiest because they watch, the oldest watch the youngest. And so yeah, man. So just looking and talking to my wife and all, because I look at my daughter while we went to lunch. I mean, we went to breakfast because I was giving my feedback, and when she walked out for a quick second, my wife was like, "Yo, Shon," she was like, "Listen, you got to remember how she operate." She said, "You used to telling people what to do." and you was just telling her that she need to do it this and she need to do that and she need to do that. And what did she say? And I was like, I thought about it. I was like, she was like, okay, you're right. So she was just agreeing. She was like, yo, that's not what she need. We are trying to get her to express herself. So if you're telling her what she need to do, that's just going to make it even more confusing for her, where she may want to do something different, but she want to please you. So now she's going to do, now she struggles. And we're trying to get her to be able to communicate and express herself. I was like, man, you know what? I jacked up. And so that's why we went to breakfast. And I'm like, babe, I need to better understand and be better as a father in this area. And it was cool, man.
No, that's I hands down, man. Again, you say it, and I'm a firm believer in what you say because I have seen it in evidence over and over again. You will not be a public success and a private failure, and I think that that is a mantra that I think all of us as fathers need to hold put on the mantle to remind ourselves that it's great to be, to have all the stuff that comes with being a public success. But man, if you go home and it's chaos at home and you are the root cause of that, then you know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so, Shon, again, I often and always just appreciate hearing, behind the scenes from the screen, because again, I think that sometimes people don't know part of this work in establishing and sustaining and maintaining and having relationships are the things that go on behind the scenes that are not captured on film, right? And how challenging those things can be, and so I appreciate that. I now have adult sons, and I'll tell you, recently one of my sons is traveling all over the place, just sort of establishing and finding himself. And one day I was just sitting here and I was just thinking about him, and I sent him a text and I said, man, I miss you. And I love you. And so he texted me and called me back, and he was just so excited. And I laughed because, I don't necessarily send texts out to my son saying, I miss you and I love you. But I was just saying to myself, well, man, I actually do miss him, and I actually do love him. And I don't think I've told him. So why don't I take the time to tell him, especially if I'm telling people that if you want to have a relationship with your kids, you actually have to tell them what you think and how much you're thinking about them, the same way you would do if you were in a romantic relationship. And so, I saw the power of that simple text saying, I miss you. Just kind of, again, we had a great conversation, and I think we continue to grow. But that took a lot of effort out of me to say to myself, oh, yeah, you can do that. You can tell your adult son you miss him.
That's good, Cole. That's good, man.
That's okay.
So you too had to talk to yourself to make sure you follow through it. Really, that's good.
Yeah. Because it could be easy to give out the antidote, but not take it yourself. And a lot of people do it. And so I think even just as we begin to wrap this up, talking about the Deion effect, I think the truth of the matter is that we all have to recognize we all have an effect on the people that are closest to us, and that effect trickles down into them, and it becomes a ripple effect. So if we can constantly remind ourselves how important our influence is to our families, most importantly, our children and the people that we're closely connected to, we'll see those influences of us spread out, and how they interact and bond and connect and establish relationships with others, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
But I think we all have an effect. And so I think we just have to be reminded of that and trust that we're all, hopefully we're all doing the things we need to do to be our best selves so that we show up and pass that on. So, man, I thank you again, brother, for this. I feel like, I do. Cole got an effect. Shon got an effect. Deion too, and so does our out there. You have an effect, and so remember that. Hold true to that, and trust that. You'll see that effect played out in some way or the other.
I love it, man. No, this is good, brother.
Yeah.
This is good, man. This is good.
So I got a legit or not legit.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. If Cole got legit or not legit and it wasn't pulled out, let's go.
Bro, listen, so I've been sitting here with this hat on, and I've been thinking to myself, if you go back through the film of us in all our episodes, This is the only hat I wear. I have my caps, but my baseball cap, I only have one baseball cap. I got this one, and I got two. I got this one, and I got a black one. And I'm thinking, is it legit or not legit to only have one baseball cap, particularly that you wear for this podcast? This is the only one I throw on. This is the only one I feel most confident in. Is that legit, Shon, or not legit?
You know what? I'm gonna say it's legit. And I'm gonna tell you why it's legit. Because it can become part of your brand. That's the only reason why I say it's legit. Because it can be part of your brand where you wear that, somebody like, oh, I like that, and that's the only hat. Now you can sell that hat because others want that cold effect.
Come on.
That's my thing, bro. That's why I say it's legit. See, now, you know, we're going to put it up on the website. You know what I mean? We're going to have a link where somebody want to buy the hat. You know what I mean? Get that cold effect.
Bro.
Like Michael Jordan. It's like, is it in the shoes? Is it in the shoes?
I'm telling you. Bro, I'm telling you, if we go back, you're going to see this hat pop up in more of our episodes than ever. This
I do have a question, though. Can I ask a question?
What's the question, bro? Yeah.
Is it a reason why we wear this hat?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can we know?
Yep.
Can we know?
Yeah. So I'm about to show you real quick. You see this right here?
I see that. I see it.
It's gone.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, y'all. Oh my God. That is good. Okay. I don't have nothing to say. That was good. That was like that was like one of them girdles. That was like a girdle. So you got a girdle for your head. I like it. All right, Cole. That was good. That was good.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Till next time.